Hello everyone, my name is TheMadScorpyon and welcome to another week in Destiny. Now, Echoes have launched, which is honestly something that is already off to a pretty solid start in terms of seasonal story. However, I wanted to go over a few things right off the bat. The exotic class items are live. I will have a video guide for that later when I get to it, but that might be a little bit, so just bear with me. But in addition to that, exotic Khvostov. It was blocked for a little bit because a boss wasn't allowed to spawn. It is now available again, so if you have either been waiting or have not been able to unlock exotic Khvostov, now is the time. Now, getting into what was fixed recently in a patch earlier today, just starting from the top to bottom. In terms of Crucible, fixed an issue in Collision where capturing a zone while at full super energy would slightly reduce your energy. In the Pale Heart, the sky is now changed in the Pale Heart after the events of Salvation's Edge being completed. It requires players to have completed the campaign to see said sky change, and fixed an issue where moat counter status UI would sometimes not appear with the moat collection encounter in the impasse location, and fixed an issue where certain elements of the liminality strike would not load upon entering the first area of the abscess. I've actually run into that. For the campaign, fixed an issue in campaign lost sectors that would prevent combatants and objectives from spawning, fixed a crash that could occur during the final encounter in the Iconoclasm mission, and fixed an issue where the art shown in director dialogues when exiting the Final Shape campaign was not appearing correctly. For Onslaught, fixed an issue where turret upgrade costs were referencing decoy upgrade costs. For Salvation's Edge, they fixed an issue where the carry's stat tracker did not properly increment. For Triumphs, they fixed an issue where strand triumphs added from previously shipped raids had missing strings. Pathfinder, they fixed an issue where Grenade Ascension had an incorrect objective. For Gameplay and Investment, fixed an issue where the risky archery emote would cause players to become invisible. And for Abilities, fixed an issue where Knock 'em Down aspect was not increasing the number of projectiles fired by Blade Bras. Fixed an issue where the Blade Fury Super was not granting Woven Mail to nearby allies in PvP with Into the Fray equipped. Fixed an issue where players weren't granted the Prismatic subclass if they missed a required cinematic. Still investigating the issue, but if they need it, to go ahead and just replay Transmigration. For Armor, fixed an issue where players could bypass Lucky Pants cooldown by unequipping and re-equipping the armor. Fixed an issue where incorrect descriptions of the arms reach armor mod. And for Weapons, fixed an issue where the On-Juniment Bow had the wrong damage profile. Fixed an issue where the Magnificent Howl could be active for an extended duration, and fixed an issue for where the cost of purchasing the legendary version of Khvostov from collections was lower than intended. Now that that little bit's going on, I'll at least hopefully be sure to keep a note in every video to bypass what is broken and what's fixed to get into the good bits. So, starting off with our strikes, of course, there is a bunch of rebrand, which I'll actually go over the full list of stuff right now for the available Nightfalls, once I can remember where they put Conqueror right here. So, our current available Grandmasters. Good lord! I did not know they expanded this. So, the Nightfalls available this week, or this season, or episode, include the Glassway, the Disgraced, Liminality, the new one, Prismatic, or Psyops Battleground Cosmodrome, the Devil's Lair, Warden of Nothing, Fallen Saber, Exodus Crash, and the Insight Terminus. Now, while I am happy that I only read that there's one battleground, man, that is a lot. And some of these are easier definitely than others. Some of these are just kind of meh. But seeing Glassway, the new strike, which I imagine will be hard, and Battleground on top of Exodus Crash, which I remember being a pain, I hope that drastically means that Prismatic can make GMs their pet officially. But aside from that, the current available strike is actually Warden of Nothing, and the weapon available is Prey Osteonyx, Solar Bow. Quite nifty, although it has been available for a while, so if you don't have one, I'd say go for it. Otherwise, save the grinding for something possibly newer. But aside from the quicked out into strikes, the current active booster actually is the Crucible. So if you want to spend some time in Crucible getting new armor, weapons, whatever comes out of Crucible this season, now is a good time for that. However, there is, of course, Rotation Crucible, which is 6v6 Control, Relic, and Rumble for that. But aside from that, the big rotators this time, the exotic mission is currently the Seraph Shield, which of course rewards you with the 7th Seraph-based Revision 0, and its variety of weapons, including the Ikelos set, and these, of course, 7th Seraph set from the same season, which pretty good to grind out for. There are good notes in each. For the weekly featured raid is actually the Garden of Salvation, which is one of the last ones that doesn't really have any value. Yes, you can get a pinnacle from it, but however, the weapons do not get red borders, they cannot be crafted, and the exotic isn't farmable. It is a quest base. So run it if you want to get a roll on some gear. However, if you're specifically looking for the auto rifle, the season has a brand new version of it and in stasis instead of void. But aside from that, the weekly featured dungeon, for a pinnacle and for farming, is Spire of the Watcher, which some of the weapons are pretty handy. I like Wilder Flight. The bow is nifty if you know how to use it, but aside from that, a slog to grind if you are looking for it. So if you need something, it is time to grind out, but aside from that, getting into our current active raid challenge. Of course, Salvation's Edge is the featured pinnacle raid, but we don't have any actual challenge modes just yet, as it is fresh. But I also imagine we'll be getting the master mode sometime soon, as is customary with raids. But aside from that, again, Garden of Salvation was the weekly feature raid, but going back through, remember, Crota's End is not going to be permanently master, so whenever it is master, it's going to have all challenges active, so farming out that is going to be handy. But going from the top to bottom, Crota's End is Equal Vessels Challenge. Root of Nightmare is all hands, just going quickly through them. King's Fall is Grass is Always Greener. Vow of the Disciple is Swift Destruction. Vault of Glass is Oracle's Challenge. The Deepstone Crypt is Tandic's Challenge. And Last Wish is the Summoning Ritual. But aside from that, that is pretty much everything I wanted to go over. There is, of course, some other stuff going on. Many great things with the season. Of course, I have my own respective video out on the story happenings if you want to see that. But just keeping it quick and clean for our Eververse. Right on the front page for Bright Dust stuff, we have Minimalism, which is from last season, which definitely looks quite minimalistic, as it is basically just grayscale and gray tones and another variety. Granted, Heart of Inmost Light doesn't really shade her that well, but, you know, there's that. And we have Royal Treatment from Season of the Risen, which is supposed to be pseudo-callous-ish. I would say callous, sort of, almost-ish. There's no better way to put it, though. We also have the Pyramid Entrance from Season 15, which is really one of the cooler-looking ones, but it is basically just pyramid ships and then you spawning out of them. For our random Universal Ornament, if you actually wanted the armor from Season of Opulence, or the, what's the word? I forget. Well, actually, Season of Opulence is the right word. But if you want the class item, or the boots from everything, it is currently boots on all active characters, depending on what you play as, of course. So go ahead and pick it up if you otherwise want it. And from Season of the Risen, we have the Wiggle Worm emote, which is basically the you got a worm, and it really wants to be your worm. But, you know, it's a repeat of that over and over again, until the worm explodes. From there, going into our main store, the main shaders available. We have Bruised Blush from Season of the Undying, which is struggling to load. I might have to catch up with you after these messages. But then we also have Tyrian Abyss from Season of the Haunted, which is one of those ones that the color palette swap I feel like is actually really worth it in terms of the shader, because I recall it being a more silver and black look with a little bit of blue with, of course, a purple glow. Actually, this is a perfect example of how that glow and the rework shader can show, because there is the centralized black, of course, white, and darker tones, but doubling back just to see Bruised Blush and how it looks. Hopefully, if it is loading properly now. It is not. I might just have to skip past this one just for today, but again, the logo shader, you get a good idea of what it looks like. You also have Empirical Imperative from Season 19, which this one is very much a carbon fiber look, mostly black, more yellow, some bits of blue, just to keep track of it, and it is refusing to load again. Man, the tower must be full. Then we have a new one, Shifting Crossed Phase, which I'm actually going to cut into in just a moment if it doesn't load. There we go. It is a very cleanish looking look. It is white, goldish yellow, orange, which honestly just looks straight up clean in comparison. And then we have Empirical Imperative. Just to double back on it, like I said, carbon fiber, lots of yellow, some blues, but otherwise a clean looking shader. For some transmit effects, we have the reflection effects from Season 2, all the way back from Curse of Osiris, which is Osiris's reflection curse. Then we also have the twin snake effects, which is one of the weirder looking ones because it's a kind of texture pack we've never really seen anywhere else, but you know, twin gambit snakes. And the subjugator entrance from the caretaker or Rolk, whichever one is actually the full subjugator, I forget. Then we have the weekday dance for some of our big ticket items, which is another one of those dances that I don't understand the reference or where it might be from, but it actually comes with a color show supposedly, so a real theatrical one. We also have the Tiny Friend emote from Season of the Deep, which is you getting one of your little lucent moths, which I'm not gonna lie, we're uber cute. Then we also have the Razor Scale shell from last season. This goes with the Dragon set. It, of course, has an accompanying Sparrow and Jump Ship that if you wish to look a little bit Dragon Scaled, you can't grab that. You also have the Segment Rig, which is from Season of the Witch, which, if I remember, is one of those ones that looks kind of rough and tumble. But Eververse is really struggling to load, so I maybe will double back. And for our Titans, we currently have the Heart of Inmost Light Taken ornament, which does look quite solid, but it does glow a hefty lot, which usually wouldn't be too terrible, but this all is accounted for in the glow. If I ran this with my armor set, it would be quite blue or bright orange. It wouldn't really fit. For our Hunter friends, we have Isochronal Nanofluid, which is for the newly changed Renewal Grasps, which this is a very solid look. It's a slim tech look compared to the usual just kind of chunky black armory look. Very much slims it down, and if I recall, actually does add some spoof with the glow, so probably going to pick this up myself, but it's completely up to you. And wrapping the ornaments up with Warlocks, we have Rayonant Tracery, which is one of those ones that it does look nifty, but how much are you going to notice it considering it's a pair of boots on your foot, which if I recall is for Secant Filaments, which already a nifty looking piece of armor. Didn't really think it needed a ornament per se. And cutting back from our other characters, we have Augmented Apotheosis, which is the Season of the Splicer-based Divinity ornament, which definitely cleans it down and slims it up. There has been one or two ornaments for Divinity that just seem to make it real wide and bulky. I forget which season it's from, but you know exactly the ornament I'm talking about. But this is a generally clean look otherwise. And lastly, as always, we have a Ghost Projection in form of a Maru that I would like to just go ahead and squish. But aside from that, that is the full reset update. Of course, I am trying to slim this down to the important bits. I tried to get the important stuff out the way first, like mentioning that Khvostov is re-enabled. Exotic class items are, of course, out in the wild, and again, I will have a video of that covering soon. But you will need a friend, just to keep that in mind. With that, my name is TheMadScorpyon. I will see you in the next video.